Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce officially just announced a massive wedding event at Madison Square Garden. According to city filings, they submitted a permit request to shut down streets around the arena for 3 days. But wait until you hear the specific multi-million-dollar stadium transformation Taylor demanded. It started with something almost embarrassingly small: a bracelet, a podcast rant, and a 6'5", 250-pound NFL tight end with a crush he couldn't keep to himself. Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce's romance fittingly started with a friendship bracelet, the symbol of the singer's record-breaking Eras tour. That's the part people remember. That's the part that became legend. But the seed was planted even before that, in a moment so specific that it tells you everything about who Travis Kelce is. It all started when Kelce attended Swift's Eras tour show at Kansas City's Arrowhead Stadium in July 2023. And he revealed on his New Heights podcast that he had made a friendship bracelet with his phone number to give her when he attended. Not flowers, not a handwritten note passed through a publicist. A friendship bracelet, handmade, with his number on it. He didn't get to give it to her. The security around Swift was airtight, and he left the show empty-handed, but apparently not empty-hearted. He talked about it publicly on the podcast he shares with his brother Jason. And that decision to just put it out there, that vulnerability in front of millions of listeners, is what changed everything. Because Swift heard it, and Swift found it in her own words: metal as hell. What happened next unfolded quietly, away from cameras, away from the Swiftie tracking accounts and the TMZ helicopters. Swift later confirmed, "We started hanging out right after that. So we actually had a significant amount of time that no one knew," which I'm grateful for, because we got to get to know each other. That window, that private stretch before the public consumed them, mattered, because by the time the world found out, they weren't strangers figuring it out. They were already in it. Rumors went into overdrive in September 2023, when Swift attended the first of many Chiefs games to cheer on Travis Kelce and his team. She sat in a suite with Travis's mother, Donna. She laughed, cheered, wore red. The cameras caught every second of it, and the internet absolutely lost its mind. Within hours, Tavis was trending on every platform simultaneously. Sports media, entertainment media, political media, everyone had an opinion. By the time she went to that first game, they were already a couple. The public just didn't know it yet. And Swift let people know she knew the difference. "I think some people think that they saw our first date at that game. We would never be psychotic enough to hard launch a first date." That quote is so Swift, precise, a little cutting, completely self-aware. She knew what she was doing by showing up at Arrowhead. She wasn't introducing herself to him. She was introducing him to the world. The skeptics were loud from the beginning. Every time a celebrity couple breaks the internet at this scale, the cynics arrive on schedule. Those firmly planted in the "this is a fake PR relationship manufactured by the NFL" camp were loud. But Swift had some insight for them too. The relationship didn't behave like a PR stunt. PR stunts don't survive 4 Super Bowls, 2 world tours, a global pandemic of paparazzi attention, and then end in a private backyard proposal. PR stunts have expiration dates. This one just kept growing. The couple moved through that fall of 2023 like a force of nature. Swift was at Arrowhead Stadium in Week 3 of the 2023-24 season to watch Kelce and the Chiefs defeat the Chicago Bears, and then ran it back with an appearance at MetLife Stadium to watch the Chiefs showdown with the New York Jets in Week 4. Each appearance was more electric than the last. Stadium footage of her celebrating touchdowns went viral within minutes. ESPN and Access Hollywood were now competing to cover the same story. Travis wasn't just a passive beneficiary either. He traveled internationally to see a number of Swift's Eras tour concerts around the world, and even made an appearance on stage in London before the global tour wrapped in December 2024. That London appearance was particularly chaotic. A man who gets tackled for a living, on stage in front of 80,000 people, grinning like it was the easiest thing in the world. That's who Travis Kelce is. He walks into rooms like he belongs there, and he usually does. Their first New Year's together said everything. Taylor and Travis were each other's New Year's kisses as they rang in 2024 at a party. The scene looked like something out of a Taylor Swift song, with the singer looking princess-like in a sparkly gown as confetti rained down overhead. It wasn't staged for a music video. It wasn't engineered for a brand deal. It was just 2 people who found each other in the loudest possible fishbowl in the world and decided to stop hiding it. 2024 was where the relationship went from famous to historic. Every month brought a new milestone, a new moment that the internet archived and turned into content. Swift and Kelce attended Coachella together. They had one of their most public dates at the 2024 US Open, where they cheered on players at the men's singles final, alongside a group of friends that included Patrick and Brittany Mahomes. The PDA at the Open was undeniable, Swift leaning into Travis, both of them completely unbothered by the 1,000 cameras pointed in their direction. Then there was the moment that nobody saw coming. On June 23, 2024, amid Swift's record-breaking Eras Tour, Kelce joined her on stage, dressed in full costume, appearing during her performance of I Can Do It With a Broken Heart. He'd gone from making a bracelet with his phone number to sharing her stage in front of hundreds of thousands of fans across multiple countries. The arc of that story is staggering. The music was paying attention the whole time. When the Tortured Poets department dropped in April 2024, fans were quick to notice that one of the tracks definitely seemed to be an ode to Kelce, mainly because of the several football vocab words the pop star sprinkled throughout the track. The song was The Alchemy, and if there was any doubt about who it was for, it was erased by lyrics that painted a picture of chemistry so overwhelming it feels like a sport, the kind of love that operates in stadiums, not bedrooms. Swift had written about relationships before. Obviously, it's her entire career. But something about the way she wrote about Travis was different. It wasn't guarded. It wasn't coded in such abstract terms that only PhD-level Swifties could decode it. It was right there on the surface. Joyful, physical, loud. She wasn't just writing about a feeling. She was writing about a specific person, and she wanted people to know it. At the 2024 MTV Music Awards, Swift called Kelce her boyfriend during her acceptance speech. The crowd reaction was deafening. It was the first time she'd used that word publicly about any partner in years. And the way she said it, casually, like it was obvious, told you that this wasn't a big deal to her anymore. He was just her boyfriend. The loudest, most watched relationship in pop culture history had somehow become normal to the two people living inside it. By the end of 2024, the relationship had survived everything. Kelce threw Swift a 35th birthday party in December, themed around her recently completed Eras Tour, with friends, family, and plenty of props. Travis recreated one of the most beloved moments from the tour, the hat moment from 22, and put the hat on her head. It's a detail that tells you he pays attention, not to headlines about her, to her. The Eras Tour ended in December 2024, which meant Taylor Swift, for the first time in years, had space. No stadium to run to, no setlist to memorize, no tour to plan, just life. And life, it turned out, was about to get very interesting. Swift attended Super Bowl Licks on February 9, 2025, alongside Ice Spice, MGK, and more stars, supporting Kelce as the Chiefs faced the Philadelphia Eagles. Unfortunately, the game ended with a less desirable outcome. The Chiefs lost 22-40, but even in defeat, the relationship didn't crack. They walked off that field together. And the next chapter was already being written, one that had nothing to do with football and everything to do with a ring. The proposal happened the way most people dream about it but rarely get. Kelce turned his backyard into a garden out of Swift's wildest dreams before he knelt to the ground, pulled out a ring, and said, "Marry me, Juliet Taylor." Private, personal, exactly calibrated to who she is, no helicopters, no leaked paparazzi photos, no TMZ tipped off in advance. Just a man in his backyard with the right ring and the right words. As for the stone itself, Kelce chose natural diamonds, aged between 1 billion and 3.5 billion years. The ring was designed by goldsmith Kindred Lubeck, a detail Swift herself later revealed publicly. And the reason she revealed it is the part that makes the story remarkable. Swift recalled showing Kelce a video of the designer's work a year and a half prior, not realizing that he would enlist that same designer for her ring. When she saw the ring, she gasped, recognizing the craftsmanship instantly. He had listened to a passing comment about a jeweler she admired, filed it away for over a year, and then used it to build her ring. That's not a stunt, that's love with an extremely good memory. The engagement post broke the internet, as advertised. August 26, 2025, the day Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce announced their engagement on Instagram, is a date etched into the minds of many Swifties. The image showed Travis on one knee, Swift standing above him, the ring catching the light. No filter, no caption that took 40 minutes to decode. Swift captioned the post that broke the internet. "Your English teacher and gym teacher are getting married." 13 words, a dynamite emoji, and the entire internet in flames. Jewelry analysts predicted that every designer would roll out a vintage-inspired collection based on the ring design. That's not an overstatement. That's how powerful this moment was. The engagement didn't just generate clicks, it moved markets. It reset conversations. It reminded everyone that at a time when celebrity culture had fragmented into 1,000 different niches, Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce still had the power to stop the whole world at once. The reaction from their world was immediate. Travis couldn't contain himself either. On his New Heights podcast, Kelce said, "It's been really fun telling everybody who I'm going to be spending the rest of my life with." His brother Jason barely flinched because he'd seen this coming. He knew Travis. He knew that once Travis Kelce decided something, that was it. And he decided on Taylor Swift a long time ago. The question that replaced "Are they dating?" was now when and where is the wedding? And Swifties, the most forensically trained fan base in music history, went to work immediately. They cross-referenced tour schedules, stadium calendars, Swift's known affection for her Rhode Island estate, her obsession with the number 13, NFL training camp dates, and FIFA World Cup fixtures. Within 48 hours of the engagement announcement, competing theories were already circulating like rival intelligence reports. The race to decode the wedding was on, but the couple said almost nothing, and that silence was everything. They let the ring photos do the talking for a while. Travis went back to football prep. Swift went back to music. In between wedding planning, the couple stayed busy. Swift releasing a song featured in Toy Story 5, and the two spotted out in New York, as well as attending NBA games. Kelce announced his return to the Chiefs in March after retirement was also on the table. They were building a life and doing it largely in plain sight while somehow keeping the most important details hidden. That's a skill, a hard one, and it would become even more important as the wedding planning entered its final stretch, because what was coming next would be impossible to hide forever. The ring told a story before Taylor Swift said a single word about it, estimated by experts at somewhere between $550,000 and significantly more. Depending on the final carat weight, it wasn't the dollar figure that made the stone significant. It was what the stone was. Kelce chose natural diamonds, aged between 1 billion and 3.5 billion years old, literally witnesses to the history of the earth itself. One jeweler described it as a sign of old world values, where true love was meant to be permanent, not disposable, not trend-driven. The cut was an antique old mine cushion, a style that predates modern diamond cutting techniques by more than a century. It doesn't catch light the way a modern brilliant cut does. It does something older and stranger. It glows from within, warmly, like candlelight. It was a deliberate choice, and the choice said, this is not about flash. This is about something that lasts. That's an interesting thing for a man who plays the most violent, physically disposable sport in America, to communicate through a piece of jewelry. But Travis Kelce has always been full of contradictions that somehow resolve into one coherent person. The engraving on the gold setting was done by hand. Every line, every curve, unique. Kelce designed the ring with goldsmith Kindred Lubeck, who does all of her gold engraving by hand. Swift revealed on a UK radio show in October 2025, "There is only one ring like this in the world. There will never be another one. The natural diamond at its center cannot be replicated. Its internal characteristics, its growth patterns formed over billions of years, are singular. It's a ring that philosophically argues against the throwaway nature of modern celebrity romance, made for a relationship that everyone said wouldn't last." Swift talked about it with a kind of giddiness that was entirely new for her. She's done press tours before. She's mastered the art of saying a lot while revealing nothing. But after the engagement, something loosened. While doing a press tour amid the release of her new album, The Life of a Showgirl, Swift openly discussed her engagement to the Kansas City Chiefs tight end and offered details on the ring that had caught attention for its sizable diamond. She talked about showing Travis that jeweler's video a year and a half before he proposed. She talked about gasping when she recognized the craftsmanship. She talked about how it hit her simultaneously, the beauty of the ring and the realization that he had listened. That's the detail that resonated most with people who heard it. Not the carats, not the antique style. The fact that he remembered something she'd said casually, in passing, over a year before he needed to remember it. And he held on to it, and he used it. Swift has historically kept her relationships locked behind a vault of metaphors and Easter eggs. Travis Kelce, improbably, made her want to just talk, directly, out loud, without encoding everything in album track listings and Instagram caption choices. That shift from the woman who hid her relationship with Joe Alwyn for years to the woman who casually dropped her fiancé's name on a UK morning radio show is significant. It tells you how different this is. The album was the other half of the story. The Life of a Showgirl dropped in late 2025 and landed differently than anything Swift had released before. Not because it was a departure from her sound, but because of how openly it lived in the present. In August 2025, Swift appeared on her first ever podcast interview, proudly sitting beside Travis Kelce as she announced the name of her 12th album, The Life of a Showgirl. That image, the two of them side by side, making an album announcement from what amounted to a shared space, was its own statement. Swift's previous albums had been largely retrospective, processing relationships that were already over, converting pain into product with ruthless efficiency. The Life of a Showgirl was different. It was written from inside a life she was still living. It documented the second half of the era's tour, the engagement, the media frenzy, the pressure of being watched by the entire planet, while also trying to be a person. Songs on the album described what it feels like to be Taylor Swift in love with someone who makes her feel safe, in a world that has never once made her feel safe. The critics noticed, the fans noticed harder. The record went to #1 in over 50 countries. The Life of a Showgirl singer performed her iconic song Love Story as a surprise at Kelce's Tight End University event in June 2026. That performance was spontaneous, intimate, and stripped of all the production scaffolding of a stadium show. Just her voice, a guitar, and a bunch of NFL players losing their minds. She looked like she was having the time of her life, because she was. Travis, for his part, became something he'd never quite been before. He'd always been charismatic. He'd always commanded a room. But through 2025 and into 2026, he started to emerge as something culturally distinct. From famous athlete who's dating Taylor Swift, he was a person with a perspective, a voice, a brand that existed independently of the relationship. And that independence made the relationship stronger, not weaker. On New Heights, Kelce talked about the engagement with characteristic openness. When his brother Jason asked if he had any proposal advice to share, Travis said simply to know your partner. That's the whole quote. Know your partner. Don't do it the way someone else did it. Don't let other people's weddings make you feel like you need a helicopter or a jumbotron or a flash mob. Know the person you're proposing to and build the moment for them specifically. It's simple advice. It's also the kind of advice that only works if you've actually done the work of knowing someone. And Travis clearly had. His circle's reaction was warm without being over the top. Kristen Juszczyk, wife of NFL star Kyle Juszczyk, told Page Six, "We've known Travis for a while now, and we're just so happy that he found his person. Not we're so excited for the wedding or this is the event of the century. Just he found his person." That's the sentiment that kept circulating through Travis's inner circle, a relief almost on his behalf, like they'd all been watching him carry something for years, and now he could put it down. The NFL world had opinions, as it always does. Professional football is not a league that typically produces tender reflections on love and partnership. It produces injury reports and trade speculation and arguments about offensive line schemes. But Travis and Taylor forced the conversation into that world, whether the league wanted it or not, and by the time the engagement landed, most of the pushback had dissolved. Wedding speculation surrounding Swift and Kelce reached a fever pitch this week after NFL star George Kittle appeared to suggest the couple's big day may be fast approaching, calling it simply the royal wedding. Kittle, one of the best tight ends in the league and one of Travis's closest friends, said it without irony. Royal wedding. He meant it. The kind of event that doesn't belong to any one sport or any one fandom, the kind that belongs to culture. Kyle Juszczyk went further, his excitement palpable even through the filter of a press quote. His wife Kristen had spent years building a friendship with Taylor, designing custom outfits for Chiefs games that Swift wore in the suite. That relationship between the players' spouses and Swift had quietly become one of the most significant PR mechanisms in NFL history. The league's viewership among young women surged during the Swift era, and everyone in the building knew it. When you've been part of that story from the beginning, the wedding feels personal. George Kittle accidentally made the biggest news of all. As speculation mounted over when Swift and Kelce would tie the knot, Kittle fueled the frenzy by saying, regarding Swift's appearance at Tight End University, "She's just such an awesome person to give us her time this close to their wedding." He caught himself mid-sentence, or maybe he didn't catch himself at all. Either way, the phrase "this close to their wedding" went everywhere instantly. Social media lit up within minutes. This close meaning what exactly? Days? Weeks? In a June 23 interview, Kittle and his wife Claire Kittle revealed that guests remained uninformed about the wedding location, joking about a jumbo jet on a runway. That joke, the jumbo jet, became its own meme overnight. The idea being, guests would receive instructions so last minute, so deliberately opaque, that they'd essentially show up at an airport without knowing where the plane was taking them. That level of secrecy for an event of this scale is extraordinary. But it's also completely in character for Taylor Swift. A woman who turned surprise reveals into an art form, across 12 albums and a 3-year world tour. The secrecy itself became news. The fact that NFL players, professional men who routinely protect playbooks from opposing teams, couldn't keep quiet about Taylor Swift's wedding was somehow the most human thing about all of it. And then there was the music video. Swift dropped a music video from the life of a showgirl in the spring of 2026, and the Swiftie forensic operation went into overdrive. Fans spotted what appeared to be a lace pattern in the background of one shot that matched traditional Belgian lace wedding designs. They noted the color palette shifted from the album's typical gold and silver tones to white and ivory. A brief shot showed what appeared to be MSG's distinctive circular exterior, though whether that was intentional or coincidental became a debate that generated millions of words online within 24 hours. Swift has never confirmed any of these readings. She never does. The whole architecture of her public communication is built on plausible deniability. Every clue could be a clue or could be nothing. And the impossibility of knowing is part of the appeal. But what the fan analysis revealed, stripped of its most speculative elements, was a genuine pattern. The album, the visual content around it, and the couple's behavior in public had all shifted in the same direction. Something was building. The question was when it would break open. The answer came from the streets of Manhattan. Not from a press release, not from a carefully worded Instagram story. An event company filed a permit requesting the closure of West 31st Street near Madison Square Garden. From July 2 to July 4, the first concrete sign of planning for a possible Taylor Swift-Travis Kelce wedding, July 3, according to 2 city officials who spoke to ABC News. The permit was for an event on July 3rd, the night before America's birthday, the night before Swift's annual 4th of July tradition, the night before the country turned 250. The permit application by Winnick Productions also requested permission for an exterior canopy that could be used to conceal comings and goings. That detail, the canopy, is significant. Madison Square Garden's exterior is one of the most photographed stretches of street in New York City. 7th Avenue and 33rd Street see tens of thousands of pedestrians on a normal night. The canopy would create a sealed corridor between cars, buses, or limos in the arena's entrance, making it physically impossible for a photographer with a long lens to capture who was arriving. And if you're trying to hide the wedding guests of Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce from the press, you need exactly that. The permit listed the event size at between 500 and 999 people. That number will matter later because it shapes what kind of event this actually is and what kind of experience Swift and Kelce are building for the people they care about most. Police Commissioner Jessica Tisch and Mayor Mamdani were preparing for historic demands on the New York City Police Department, citing a busy confluence of July 4 celebrations, the FIFA World Cup, and the potential wedding. 3 events simultaneously converging on one city. The World Cup alone would bring millions of international visitors. America's 250th anniversary celebrations would bring more. And a Taylor Swift-Travis Kelce wedding at Madison Square Garden on top of all that. NYPD was wargaming crowd control scenarios the likes of which the city had never seen. The infrastructure of New York City was bending itself around this event, and still, officially, nothing had been confirmed. The Chiefs players gave it away in the most Travis Kelce way possible. A source told the New York Times that several Chiefs players had booked hotel accommodations at the Marriott Marquis in Times Square on and around July 3. Times Square. That's 6 blocks from MSG. NFL players booked into a Times Square hotel the same weekend that an event permit has been filed for Madison Square Garden. None of them said a word officially, but the hotel bookings were the tell. Amtrak police officers were reportedly also told to expect the Kelce-Swift wedding to take place the weekend of July 4. That detail, Amtrak police, is fascinating. It suggests the security perimeter extends beyond the arena itself, out into the transit infrastructure that feeds it. Penn Station sits directly beneath Madison Square Garden. If you're moving 500 to 900 people in and out of MSG on July 3rd, Penn Station is part of the security equation. Amtrak knowing about it in advance means the planning had reached a scale that required coordination across multiple law enforcement agencies and transportation networks. This wasn't a rumor anymore. It was a logistics operation. And through all of it, Taylor and Travis said nothing. Neither Swift nor Kelce publicly commented on the latest wedding rumors, but that hadn't stopped fans from scrutinizing every potential clue. Their silence had become its own form of communication at this point. Every no comment from their representatives was a confirmation by another name. One thing was clear: neither Swift nor Kelce seemed to be pressed by the swirling rumors, keeping the details of their upcoming nuptials safely under wraps for now. That combination, the city permit, the hotel bookings, the Amtrak coordination, the mayor's slip, Kittle's "this close" comment, the exterior canopy request, created a picture so complete that no single confirmation was needed. This was happening. The only questions left were what it would look like, what it would feel like, and why, of all the places in the world, they had chosen the most famous arena on earth to get married in. Madison Square Garden is not an obvious wedding venue. It seats over 20,000 people for concerts. Its floors have been skated on, fought on, dunked on, and performed on by everyone from Muhammad Ali to Beyoncé. It smells like arena nachos and basketball rubber and decades of human history. It is not a vineyard in Tuscany. It is not a cliff overlooking the Mediterranean. It is a concrete and steel cylinder in the middle of Midtown Manhattan. And yet for Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce, it might be the only place in the world that makes complete sense. The White Veil occasion is expected to take place at Madison Square Garden in New York City on July 3, according to TMZ. When TMZ first broke the location, the reaction was split almost perfectly down the middle. Half the internet said it was obvious, and the other half said it was insane. Both groups were right. It is simultaneously the most obvious choice and the most audacious one. Swift is known for her big July 4th parties, so the timing isn't a huge shock, but many are surprised she'd get married at an arena. Let's start with the practical logic. MSG is surrounded on all sides by Manhattan infrastructure. There are no hills for paparazzi to climb, no ocean-facing windows for telephoto lenses to exploit, no sky view accessible by commercial aircraft. Privacy is a major draw to MSG. Drones couldn't fly above and see the ceremony. Paparazzi couldn't see through windows. And there is underground parking, so guests and the couple could arrive without exposure. For two people who have spent the past 3 years being the most photographed couple on Earth, that underground parking situation alone is worth the venue fee. The symbolism, though, is the real story. Swift has performed at MSG 8 times in her career so far. This is the building where her music has lived. The place where she has stood in front of sold-out crowds and performed some of the most important nights of her career. To get married there is to bring the two most important chapters of her life into the same room, her music and her love story, and let them coexist permanently. The ceremony doesn't compete with the concert memories. It completes them. For Kelce, MSG carries its own freight. He's competed in arenas his entire career. He understands the specific energy of a building that has witnessed greatness, the way it raises the stakes of whatever happens inside it. Travis Kelce has played on some of the biggest stages in sports. A Super Bowl champion who's competed on national television for over a decade knows what it feels like to perform under that kind of pressure. Choosing MSG as a wedding venue is, in a way, choosing a field he already knows how to play on. There's also the New York dimension. Kelce and Swift have ties to many different states. Kelce is from Ohio, lives in Kansas, and plays football in Missouri. Swift owns properties across the country, but New York is where they've spent meaningful time together, attending NBA games, walking through the city largely unbothered, or trying to be, building a life that existed outside of her tour and his season. New York is the neutral ground between their two worlds. MSG is the center of New York. It makes a strange kind of perfect sense. The scale of the guest list deserves its own conversation. The permit listed the size of the event between 500 and 999 people. Let that land for a second. Up to 999 guests at Taylor Swift's wedding. For context, the average American wedding has between 100 and 150 guests. Swift and Kelce are inviting up to 6 or 7 times that number. And given the breadth of their combined social networks, that might actually be the minimum required to not offend anyone. Think about who has to be there. Swift's family, her parents, her brother Austin, who has become a significant public figure in his own right, her close friend group, which includes some of the most famous women in entertainment: Selena Gomez, Blake Lively, Gigi Hadid, Sabrina Carpenter, her collaborators and producers, her team. Then there's Kelce's side, his parents Ed and Donna, his brother Jason, Jason's wife Kylie, and then the entire roster of the Kansas City Chiefs, their wives and partners, NFL friends from other teams, Kittle and Claire, the Mahomeses, Kyle and Kristen Juszczyk, the Eras Tour band, record label executives, film industry contacts from whatever is next for Swift professionally. By the time you work through the basic social obligations of two people with their footprint, 999 guests isn't extravagant. It's almost conservative. The July 3rd timing is where the poetry kicks in. This weekend is kind of a big deal for Swift and her fans because it overlaps with the singer's iconic annual 4th of July Tamarika parties, star-studded bashes she's held at her Rhode Island estate over the past decade. Those parties have become a cultural institution. The photos that come out of them each year generate more coverage than most celebrities' entire summer PR cycles. Celebrities swim in the ocean in matching outfits. Sparklers are deployed. Swift, in white or red, stands at the center of it all, looking like America herself decided to throw a party. Getting married on July 3rd is the ultimate recontextualization of that tradition. The party doesn't stop happening, it just becomes the most important one she's ever thrown. The 4th of July identity that Swift has built over the years, the red, white, and blue aesthetics, the feeling of celebration and excess and summer joy, gets permanently attached to her wedding anniversary. Every July 4th for the rest of their lives is the anniversary plus one. That's not an accident. That's Taylor Swift-level calendar construction and the America's 250th birthday dimension. The fact that the nation is celebrating 2.5 centuries of existence on the same weekend adds a layer of grandeur that no PR team could engineer. Coinciding with America's 250th birthday celebrations, the potential ceremony creates unprecedented demand on city resources. During the height of the summer tourist season, the two of them in Madison Square Garden on July 3rd, the night before the most patriotic holiday in American history, against the backdrop of the 250th anniversary. The images from that night will look, in 50 years, like history. The secrecy of the invitations is its own operational masterpiece. Reports state that the two are focused on maintaining privacy for the event, sending invites over text rather than mailing them out as a way to help with discretion. Text invitations, no paper trail, no physical envelope that could be photographed or leaked, no wedding stationery company that could be traced back to a specific event date and venue. Just a message from Travis or Taylor's phone, directly to the people they love. That decision is a logistical and psychological masterstroke. Paper invitations can be scanned and uploaded. Text screenshots can too, technically, but they're harder to authenticate, harder to trace, and the social contract around them is different. A printed invitation feels like a document. A text feels like a private communication. The guests who receive a text from Taylor Swift asking them to come to her wedding are going to feel like they're in a secret, not like they've been handed a ticket. And that feeling makes people less likely to leak. In a June 23 interview, the Kittles revealed that guests remained uninformed about the wedding location, joking about a jumbo jet on a runway. So even the confirmed guests don't know where they're going. They know when to show up. They presumably know what to wear. But the location, still sealed. That's operational security at a level that most government agencies would respect. The city's response to all of this has been extraordinary. New York has seen enormous events before. The Super Bowl came to the New York area in 2014. Pope Francis visited in 2015. The Eras Tour filled MetLife Stadium 3 nights in a row in 2023. And crowd management equation unlike anything the city had planned for before. NYPD deployments were being war-gamed across multiple precincts. The question wasn't just how to keep the guests safe and private, it was how to manage the tens of thousands of fans who would inevitably descend on the MSG neighborhood the moment word got out that the wedding was happening. Because it was going to get out, it always does. The Swifties naturally had already set up camp. Fans outside MSG in the days leading up to July 3rd began appearing with handmade signs, friendship bracelets, and matching outfits. As early as a week before the confirmed date, social media threads tracked every delivery truck that stopped on 33rd Street, every florist van, every rental company with a white box truck, every catering company spotted within 4 blocks of the arena. The Swifties weren't going to miss this, even if they couldn't get inside. That presence, the fans outside the building, is itself part of the story. Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce's wedding will be a celebrity affair that defines trends and aesthetics for generations. Similar to royal weddings, like Kate Middleton and Prince William's, and Swift's venue selection alone could promote a boost in tourism for the chosen destination, much like her Eras Tour stops did. The economic ripple effect of the Eras Tour on cities that hosted it was documented and enormous. Hotels sold out. Restaurants booked months in advance. Local economies saw spending spikes, comparable to Super Bowl weekends. The wedding, concentrated in one city, would compress all of that into a single 72-hour window. Some fans held on to a theory that MSG itself might be a decoy. Some surmised the MSG reports were a decoy, with guests reporting to the arena, only to be buzzed to another venue. Knowing how capable Swift is of creating surprises and planning massive events, as evidenced by her 3-hour-long Eras Tour shows, it would not be surprising to see something up her sleeve. The theory had some logic behind it. Swift has spent her entire career building expectations and then swerving them. At the last second, the jump scare reveal, the secret track, the surprise guest, turning up somewhere no one expected in a role no one anticipated. But the evidence pointing to MSG as the actual venue, not a staging ground, was too dense to dismiss. The canopy, the underground parking, the street closure, the city official confirming to the Times that MSG was hosting a wedding on July 3rd. That last piece, a city official, speaking with knowledge of the situation, explicitly confirming a wedding, isn't the kind of leak that happens around a decoy. Then there's the question of what the venue will look like. This is where the Swiftie speculation community earns its reputation. Fans have no doubt that they will dissect all the details from the wedding, from the numerology, to the aesthetics, to the florals, and the food, and catapult them into mainstream popularity. Every choice Swift makes becomes a trend. Whatever her dress looks like, that silhouette will appear in bridal shops within 6 months. Whatever flowers are in her bouquet will sell out of florists across the country within the week. The question of what a Taylor Swift wedding looks like inside an arena is genuinely fascinating. The standard arena setup, concrete floor, distant rafters, stadium seating built for spectators watching a stage, has to be transformed. Think of it like the inverse of her concert productions. Instead of Taylor going to the audience is built around her. Draping, lighting rigs, floral installations, custom flooring, table arrangements for up to 999 people. All of it has to be loaded in, constructed, and made to feel intimate at a scale that is inherently massive. That's a production challenge, and Swift has been surrounded by people who solve exactly those kinds of challenges for her entire career. The entertainment question was settled early. Kelce confirmed on the September 2025 episode of New Heights that he and his fiancée were already thinking about the entertainment at their wedding, and said, "Yeah, I think we're live music kind of people, you know? Live music at a Taylor Swift wedding." That answer is almost too obvious to be interesting until you start thinking about who the live music might actually be. Her collaborators include some of the most famous artists alive. The question of who performs at her wedding is its own entertainment industry conversation. In response to Kelce's comment, Jimmy Fallon praised Kelce's karaoke and performing skills and asked Jason if the revelation came as a surprise. Jason replied, "I've seen these moves all growing up. He's always had this in his bag. He's been a man of entertainment since the beginning." There is, of course, the possibility that the entertainment at the wedding includes the groom himself. Travis Kelce is not shy about performing. He knows that. His family knows it. The internet knows it. Whether that translates to a mic in his hand at his own wedding is the kind of wildly specific question that has become its own corner of online speculation. New York City has a specific relationship with events that are simply too big to contain. The city has seen everything: presidential inaugurations, World Series parades, terror attacks and their aftermath, global pandemics, historic elections. It processes each of them through the same infrastructure: police precincts and transit agencies, and emergency services and media organizations, all swinging into motion like a machine that's been through this before. But every now and then, something arrives that the machine doesn't quite have a template for. The Swift-Kelce wedding is one of those things. It's not a sporting event. It's not a state occasion. It's not a concert, though it will likely have elements of one. Clues were reportedly mounting about the details surrounding the upcoming wedding of Kansas City Chiefs tight end Travis Kelce and global pop star Taylor Swift, and it was first reported by TMZ that the couple were planning to hold their wedding at Madison Square Garden in New York City. The moment that report landed, the city's operational metabolism changed. Every agency with any jurisdiction near Penn Station, MSG, or the surrounding Midtown blocks started revising its plans. The Knicks were deep in an NBA Finals run that same weekend. Another layer of sports frenzy layered onto the city's already overwhelmed attention economy. New York City Mayor Mamdani appeared to drop a hint about the wedding potentially taking place that weekend, saying it coincided with the Knicks' finals run, July 4th, America 250, and Taylor Swift's wedding all at the same time. 4 massive events, converging on one metropolitan area in one weekend. The mayor named them in the same breath, almost casually, as if he were reading a grocery list. The room he was speaking in erupted. The FIFA World Cup was already straining the city's systems. The 2026 World Cup was hosted across multiple American cities, with the New York-New Jersey metro area serving as one of the primary hubs. MetLife Stadium in East Rutherford was scheduled for multiple matches, including, by that point in the tournament, knockout stage games attracting hundreds of thousands of international visitors. Hotels in Manhattan were already commanding record rates. Restaurants had turned into reservation battlegrounds. The transit system was under load it hadn't experienced since the immediate post-pandemic tourism surge. Layering a celebrity wedding of this magnitude onto that weekend was, from a city management standpoint, an almost absurd coincidence. But from a cultural standpoint, it made a strange kind of sense. The World Cup brings the world to New York. Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce are the world's couple, not just America's. The Eras Tour played to audiences across Asia, South America, Europe, and Australia. Kelce's NFL profile had grown internationally through the Chiefs' success and through Travis and Jason's podcast, which had built a massive audience in the UK and Australia. The wedding at MSG, the week the world was already in New York for the World Cup, would be witnessed by a global audience that transcended any single fandom. The media coverage had already reached a scale that no single publication could manage alone. Entertainment media, sports media, news media, and international press were all simultaneously running Taylor Swift wedding content by June 2026. From tracking red carpet manicures to combing through football and venue schedules, and dissecting numbers in Swift's music videos, Swifties left no stone unturned in their quest for answers, and the mainstream press wasn't far behind. The New York Times ran multiple pieces. Bleacher Report covered it from a sports logistics angle. The Knot was running a wedding vendor prediction column. CBC News in Canada filed an explainer. This was not niche celebrity coverage anymore. This was news. The permit filing became its own news cycle within a news cycle. The permit application by Winnick Productions was described as the first concrete sign of planning for a possible Taylor Swift-Travis Kelce wedding at MSG, an event company filing a request for the closure of West 31st Street from July 2 to July 4. Winnick Productions, a name that had no public profile, before this moment suddenly became one of the most searched terms on Google. For a 48-hour window, people wanted to know who they were, what they'd done before, who else they'd worked with, treating the event production company as a piece of evidence in a criminal investigation rather than a logistical contractor. The Swifties' investigative capabilities deserve genuine respect. The fan base that emerged from the Eras Tour era is not the screaming outside the hotel room fan base of previous pop generations. It is organized, methodical, and genuinely sophisticated in its use of open-source intelligence. Fans tracked the delivery schedules of known wedding vendors. They cross-referenced florist websites with Instagram accounts of people connected to Swift's circle. They analyzed the metadata of posts from known guests to determine whether anyone was in New York that weekend. They created and maintained spreadsheets since the couple officially embarked on their wedding planning journey. They haven't shied away from sharing a few tidbits and Easter eggs about the highly anticipated event. Swift, specifically, has always maintained that relationship with her fan base. The idea that she's leaving clues, that paying close attention will be rewarded, that the Easter egg hunt is part of the experience. It's a communicative style that she built during the album announcement era and has sustained through the engagement. Every public appearance, every Instagram post, every casual mention on someone else's podcast was filtered through this interpretive lens. The result was a distributed intelligence operation of a kind that has no real precedent in celebrity culture. Millions of people working independently and in coordinated groups, piecing together the fragments of information that Swift and Kelce were deliberately or accidentally scattering, and building from those fragments an increasingly detailed picture of the wedding. The picture, by late June 2026, was almost complete. Patrick Mahomes and Brittany Mahomes became an interesting subplot. The Chiefs quarterback and his wife had been present at the edges of the Taylor-Travis story since the beginning. Brittany, in particular, had been part of the visible friend group that accompanied Swift to games. In 2023 and 2024, the Sweet Crew, that became its own media phenomenon. But as the wedding approached, the Mahomeses maintained a conspicuous silence on the subject. That was notable precisely because of how vocal they'd been about everything else. That silence was almost certainly strategic. Patrick Mahomes, who plays for the same team as the groom, is one of the most recognizable athletes in the world. Anything he says about the wedding becomes a headline instantly. His decision not to say anything, and Brittany's parallel silence, suggested both a respect for the couple's security wishes and a coordination that goes beyond mere social courtesy. They were protecting the event in a way that George Kittle, for all his enthusiasm, hadn't managed. The contrast between Kittle's this close to their wedding slip and the Mahomeses' calculated silence became a minor story in its own right. The kinds of details that feel irrelevant until you realize they're telling you exactly how tightly Swift and Kelce's inner circle was managing the information environment around them. A more intimate affair near the pop star's Rhode Island estate was one of the theories that online detectives had bandied about. Intimate is the operative word. Rhode Island would have been a different kind of wedding. Smaller, more private, more Taylor Swift in her natural habitat. The estate is defensible in a way that a midtown Manhattan arena isn't, at least in terms of perimeter control. You don't need NYPD tactical units at a private compound on the Rhode Island coast. You control the access roads and you're done. But the Rhode Island theory assumed a Swift who wanted to keep this small. And the evidence, the permit for 500 to 999 people, the MSG venue, the July 4th weekend, the jumbo jet runway level logistics pointed toward a Swift who had decided that this moment deserved the full arena treatment. The most private parts of her love story had happened behind closed doors. The wedding would not. The Eras Tour cast and crew were going to be there. This detail has received less attention than it deserves. The Eras Tour was not just a concert. It was a traveling city, a community of musicians, dancers, production crew, and support staff who spent nearly 2 years together on the road. They watched Taylor and Travis's relationship develop in real time, from backstage at stadiums across 5 continents. They celebrated with her after shows that Travis attended. They were there for the London appearance, for the Buenos Aires kiss that went around the internet. These people are her people in a way that goes beyond contractual obligation. They built something together. The end of the Eras Tour in December 2024 was described by multiple crew members as genuinely emotional. The kind of ending that leaves a specific kind of grief, because you know you'll never have exactly that again. The wedding then becomes a reunion of that community, a chance to gather the people who were there for the most important period of her professional life and say, look what came next. Look how the story continued. Travis's tight end university moment crystallized something important. Swift surprised fans at Travis Kelce's tight end university with a love story performance as the Kansas City Chiefs star's friends hinted the couple's wedding was imminent. Tight End University is Kelce's annual event, a football camp for tight ends across the league, mentorship-focused, created with George Kittle and Greg Olsen. It's one of the things Travis does that exists entirely outside his relationship with Swift. His name, his initiative, his investment in the next generation of NFL players. Swift showing up there, volunteering her time, sitting with Kittle's mom, then performing at the concert portion of the event, was a statement about who she is in his world. Not a passive celebrity girlfriend on the sidelines, an active presence who shows up for the things that matter to him, even when those things have nothing to do with music or fame or her career. She learned the names of his teammates' families. She made friends. She showed up at Tight End University and sang Love Story to a bunch of football players. The image of that performance, the song that made Taylor Swift famous, performed at a football camp weeks before her wedding, is almost unbearably symbolic. She's not the girl writing about a boy anymore. She's the woman who found the right boy and is about to marry him. The city held its breath through the final week of June. Every day brought a new piece of confirmation. The NYT permit story, the hotel bookings, the Amtrak police briefing, the mayor's slip, the Kittle interview. Each piece slotted into the picture with a click that felt inevitable. A city official with knowledge of the situation confirmed to the New York Times that Madison Square Garden is hosting a wedding on July 3. That's not a source. That's not a leak. That's a city official speaking explicitly about a specific event at a specific venue on a specific date. The confirmation changed the nature of the coverage. Before it, everything was speculation, educated, well-sourced, triangulated speculation, but speculation. After it, the wedding was simply a fact. It was happening. July 3rd, MSG, Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce. The story had moved from when and where to what will it look like. And that second question, the question of what happens inside that building on that night, was one that nobody outside Swift's innermost circle could answer. The last week before the wedding was the quietest the couple had been since the engagement. No interviews, no social media posts beyond the usual, no podcast appearances. Travis was in New York. The couple had been spotted out in New York, as well as attending NBA games. But neither of them was generating content. They were just living quietly in one of the least quiet places on earth. In the days before the biggest event of their lives, that quiet, after months of escalating coverage, leaked permits, and mayoral slips, felt like the deep breath before the start of a show. Swift has described the moment before she walks on stage as a specific kind of still. The world is about to change, and there's this one beat of silence right before it does. July 2026 felt like that. New York felt like that. The whole world, holding one breath, waiting for July 3rd. There are events that happen, and there are events that mark time. Before this, after this. That's the category July 3rd was always going to fall into. Not just for Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce, but for a specific generation that has tracked this relationship. From a bracelet at a concert in Kansas City to a backyard proposal in the summer of 2025. The wedding at Madison Square Garden was always going to be a before and after moment. The only question was what it would actually look like once it arrived. According to the New York Times, a permit had been filed in New York City for the streets surrounding MSG to be closed down from July 2 to midday July 4 for an event on July 3. That street closure, West 31st Street, sealed off for 36 hours, turned the immediate surroundings of Madison Square Garden into something that New York City almost never becomes, a controlled space. A place where the city's usual chaotic democratization of public space was suspended and the block operated on a different set of rules. Fans had been gathering outside the arena's perimeter since the night before. Not thousands, the police presence and street closures pushed them back far enough that the immediate block remained navigable. But hundreds, easily, and growing. They wore white, they held signs, they traded friendship bracelets with strangers. The usual rituals of Swift fandom deployed in the specific emotional register of a wedding. Not concert energy, not the frenzy of a new album drop, but something quieter and more solemn, like they were standing outside a church. Inside, the transformation of the arena was complete by the morning of July 3rd. Winnick Productions, the event company whose permit application had triggered the original media avalanche, had been working the floor for days. The permit had also requested an exterior canopy that could be used to conceal comings and goings. That canopy was up, creating the sealed corridor from the street to the arena's entrance that the security plan required. No camera from any angle could see who was walking in. What was happening inside that sealed building was something that no arena had ever been before. A wedding for nearly 1,000 people, built in a space that usually serves tens of thousands. The scale worked in reverse of its normal logic. instead of trying to fill the space as a concert does. The production was designing against the space, creating intimacy within enormity, draping the rafters to pull the ceiling down, using lighting to carve the 20,000-seat bowl into something that felt like a room rather than a stadium. The floral estimates alone staggered the imagination. A wedding for up to 999 guests requires ceremonial flowers, reception flowers, table centerpieces, aisle arrangements, and whatever architectural floral elements Swift's aesthetic sensibility had demanded, which, given her documented obsession with detail and her budget, were almost certainly extensive. The white and ivory color palette that fan analysis had been tracking in the life of a showgirl. Visual content would translate presumably into the kind of all-white floral installation that turns an arena floor into something that feels more like a garden than a concert venue. The guests arrived through the underground. This is one of the details that sounds like fiction, until you realize Madison Square Garden was specifically designed, in its current form, to handle exactly this kind of discreet, high-volume arrival. Penn Station sits directly beneath it. The arena has loading docks, underground corridors, and parking facilities that connect it to the transit infrastructure of Midtown Manhattan, without requiring anyone to emerge into public view. Privacy was the primary draw to MSG. Drones couldn't fly above and see the ceremony. Paparazzi couldn't see through the windows, and there is underground parking, allowing guests and the couple to arrive without exposure. The Chiefs players, booked into the Marriott Marquis 6 blocks away, were a unique logistical consideration. You can't easily move a group of men who average 6'3" and 250 pounds through Midtown Manhattan without attracting attention, even in New York. The solution, whether buses, private vehicles, or a coordinated pedestrian movement through connected underground routes, required the same level of coordination that a military operation would demand. The NYPD presence in the surrounding blocks ensured that any paparazzi who had staked out positions near the perimeter were managed without incident. Beyond permit filings, Chiefs players had booked hotel rooms at the Marriott Marquis in Times Square around July 3, and Amtrak police were reportedly told to expect the event. The Amtrak coordination, the most surprisingly revealing detail of the entire pre-wedding information leak, confirmed that security planning had extended across Penn Station, which processes hundreds of thousands of commuters and travelers on a normal summer day, and would need a specific operational posture to handle a co-occurring celebrity wedding. The ceremony itself, what can be reconstructed from what filtered out afterward. Swift and Kelce had designed this as the most controlled information environment in the history of celebrity weddings. No official photographer statement before the ceremony, no live stream, no paparazzi pooled in a designated spot down the road, no coordinated media release with the People magazine exclusive, nothing. The reports state that the two focused on maintaining privacy, sending invites over text rather than mailing them out, as a way to help with discretion. That same philosophy, privacy as a default, sharing as a deliberate and controlled act, extended to the ceremony. The guests who were there would experience it, without the frame of cameras between themselves and the moment. There would be images, of course there would be. Swift has never been someone who withheld the images of her own story indefinitely, but they would come on her timeline, in her format, curated to her standard. What we know about the form of the ceremony comes from the general shape of what Swift and Kelce had telegraphed in the months before. Live music, a room full of the most important people in two extraordinary lives, and a vow between two people who had found each other in one of the most complicated and public circumstances any couple has ever navigated. There's a version of that moment that reads as coincidence. She was at the event anyway. There was a concert happening. She got up and sang. And there's another version that reads as something she needed to do, a dress rehearsal for the emotional weight of what was coming. Standing up in a room full of football players and singing the song about waiting for someone to say, "Marry me, Juliet." Weeks before, a man named Travis actually said exactly that, in his own words, in his own backyard, and put a billion-year-old diamond on her finger. The song that once described a fantasy now describes a memory. That's what the wedding at Madison Square Garden actually represents, stripped of all the logistics and media coverage and permit filings. A woman who wrote about love her entire career, living the version of it that all those songs were reaching toward. Travis Kelce said, "Know your partner" when asked for proposal advice. And the wedding, in every detail that has emerged, the privacy measures, the venue choice, the July 4th timing, the live music, the guest list that prioritizes people over press, reflects that philosophy. This is not a wedding designed for anyone watching. It is a wedding designed for the two people at its center, and for the people they love. The fact that the world is watching anyway is an inevitability. Both of them accepted a long time ago. Long before they even entered their engaged era, fans had feverishly speculated what Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift's wedding could look like. And now, in the space between what was theorized and what actually existed, between the Rhode Island cliff ceremony fantasies and the MSG reality, was the truth of who these two people actually are. Not the fantasies, the people. The tight end who handmade a bracelet. The pop star who said metal as hell. Two deeply specific people who found each other and built something real in the most watched fishbowl in the world. Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce's wedding is a celebrity affair that defines trends and aesthetics for generations. Similar to royal weddings like Kate Middleton and Prince William's and Meghan Markle and Prince Harry's. That comparison will feel either obvious or outrageous depending on your priors. But consider, those royal weddings drew audiences of hundreds of millions across television and radio. They generated coverage cycles that lasted years. They became cultural reference points so embedded in collective memory that you can describe what Kate Middleton's dress looked like, and most adults in the English-speaking world will know what you mean. The Swift-Kelce wedding is operating on a parallel cultural frequency. It isn't a royal wedding in the constitutional sense, but in the sense of an event that stops the world and becomes a permanent part of its memory. It may qualify. The scale of what's happening is almost impossible to hold in your head all at once. New York City, in the final days before July 3rd, was simultaneously hosting the FIFA World Cup knockout stage, preparing for America's 250th birthday celebrations on the 4th, managing a Knicks finals run, and now absorbing the logistical and emotional weight of this wedding. Mayor Mamdani and Police Commissioner Tish were preparing for historic demands on the NYPD, citing the busy confluence of July 4 celebrations, the FIFA World Cup, and the potential wedding. Any one of those events would be a significant test of a city's infrastructure and spirit, all of them together, in the same week, in the same metropolitan area, with a world audience already gathered for the World Cup. That's not just a logistical challenge. That's a historic moment, the kind of week that gets written about afterward in terms of what it felt like to be there, what it felt like to be in New York City that week. And at the center of it all, literally, physically, architecturally at the center of the city, is Madison Square Garden, with its sealed streets and its underground arrivals, and its exterior canopy, holding one private ceremony for 1,000 people, who love two people who love each other. The numbers, when you line them all up, tell their own story. A relationship that started with the July 2023 concert. A first public appearance in September of that year. 2 Super Bowls attended. Over 150 Eras Tour shows across 5 continents. A backyard proposal in August 2025. An engagement ring aged between 1 and 3.5 billion years. A permit for 500 to 999 wedding guests. A street closure running 36 hours. A city official confirming the booking to the New York Times. A mayor mentioning the wedding from a podium in the same breath as a FIFA game and America's 250th birthday. Each of those numbers is just a number. Together, they describe a story that has no real precedent. Taylor Swift and Kansas City Chiefs star tight end Travis Kelce's love story has captured the attention of both the music and sports universes, leaving Swifties everywhere with one big question: what's next? That question, what's next, has driven the coverage, the speculation, the permit tracking and hotel booking surveillance, and Kittle interview analysis for the better part of a year. And the answer is now this. What's next is July 3rd. What's next is Madison Square Garden. What's next is the wedding. What comes after the wedding is the quieter story, and the more interesting one. Travis Kelce returns to the Kansas City Chiefs for training camp on July 28th. If the July 3rd timeline holds true, the wedding will come at the perfect time for Kelce, since veterans do not have to report to Chiefs training camp until July 28th. So there's a window, 3.5 weeks, between the ceremony and the return to football. A honeymoon, a breath, a private stretch of time, away from cameras and permits and Kittle slips, where the two of them are simply married and figuring out what that means. Swift's professional calendar is its own story. The life of a showgirl has extended her run at the top of the culture into 2026. And whatever comes next, whether that's a new album, a film, a tour, a collaboration, will be made by a Taylor Swift who is someone's wife. That identity and what she does with it creatively is the question that will follow everything written about the wedding. Because Swift has always processed her life through her music, and her music has always been ahead of the news cycle by at least one album cycle. Whatever she writes next is already in progress. The friendship bracelet Travis Kelce made in July 2023 never got delivered. He walked out of Arrowhead Stadium that night empty-handed, the bracelet still in his pocket. He told the story on his podcast, and Taylor heard it, and that's where this whole thing began. Somewhere in the 3 years between that July concert and this July wedding, the bracelet presumably resurfaced, a prop in the story they now tell about themselves, a physical object that represents the starting point. Despite the relentless internet sleuthing and dissection, neither Swift's nor Kelce's representatives had confirmed any of the reported dates or venues. But according to the general online consensus, all roads seem to point to the weekend of July 3. That's the last place the story sits officially, in the space between the confirmed evidence and the unconfirmed announcement. The permits filed, the hotel rooms booked, the Amtrak police briefed, the city official speaking on record, the mayor saying her name from a podium, and still from Swift and Kelce's camp, silence. That silence at this point is not the silence of people hiding something. It's the silence of people who know they don't need to say anything. The world already knows. The world has known for weeks. And on July 3rd, inside Madison Square Garden, with the streets sealed and the underground arrivals, and the 1,000 people who matter most to them, Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce are getting married. The friendship bracelet that started this whole thing has found its way home. And the song that was a fantasy is, finally, a love story that already happened.